What if your entire identity, your name, your beliefs, your morals, could be replaced? What if you went from college student to domestic terrorist? Not because you chose to, but because your mind was rewired. This is the story of how Patty Hearst was kidnapped and transformed. In 1974, America watched in disbelief. Patty Hearst, a wealthy heiress, was caught on camera robbing a bank, armed, confident, and using a new name. Just months earlier, she'd been a college student. So what happened? Was she a rebel or a victim of psychological warfare? February 4th, 1974, Berkeley, California. Patty Hearst is dragged from her apartment at gunpoint by a radical group called the Symbionese Liberation Army. The SLA wasn't famous, but they were dangerous. And now, they had the granddaughter of a media empire in their hands. She was thrown into a car, beaten, blindfolded, and locked in a tiny closet. For weeks, she lived in darkness. Minimal food, no freedom. And every day she heard voices, preaching ideology, shouting about revolution, telling her that her family were enemies of the people. This wasn't just physical captivity, this was identity erasure. Day after day she was broken down, emotionally stripped, told that the SLA was her new family. She was punished, rewarded, and emotionally reprogrammed. And slowly, something shifted inside her. Weeks later, Patty emerged from the closet with a new name, Tanya. She was now part of the group, not just a hostage but a soldier. Then came the shock. Surveillance footage of Patty, armed with an assault rifle, helping rob a bank alongside the SLA. The media went into a frenzy. How could a privileged girl join a terrorist group? But those who understood trauma saw it differently. She wasn't rebelling, she was surviving. This was classic coercive control, abuse, fear, and identity manipulation. Stockholm Syndrome? Maybe. But Patty's transformation went deeper. This was psychological conditioning. She was isolated, emotionally abused, and then accepted, but only if she became someone else. The SLA didn't just hold her, they rewrote her. The group continued their crimes, bombings, kidnappings, shootouts. But eventually, they crumbled. 2 leaders were killed, others scattered, and on September 18, 1975, Patty Hearst was captured. The girl in the surveillance photo was finally in custody. When she was arrested, she showed no remorse. She still used her alias, Tanya. She still spoke the SLA's language, but was it real belief or programming? Her defense argued she'd been brainwashed, broken by months of psychological control. At her trial, experts described how identity can be dismantled, how abuse, trauma, and isolation can make anyone obedient. But the jury didn't believe it. They saw her as a traitor, a criminal. She was sentenced to 7 years in prison, but she only served 22 months. President Jimmy Carter commuted her sentence. Years later, she was fully pardoned by President Bill Clinton. Patty Hearst became free again, but the scars of her captivity and transformation would never fully disappear. Her story teaches us how easy it is to lose control, how identity isn't fixed, it's shaped by fear, by power, by repetition, and by whoever controls your environment. What happened to Patty Hearst is extreme, but the tactics, they're everywhere. Cult leaders isolate you. Abusive partners reward loyalty and punish doubt. Political groups redefine who you are. Even advertisers and governments use repetition to program belief. Manipulation doesn't need chains, just control of your reality. If you wanted to use these same tactics, first isolate the person, cut them off from other voices, then create fear, then offer relief, but only if they comply. Make them question who they are, then tell them who to become, and reward it. Want to defend yourself? Look for the signs: sudden personality shifts, blind loyalty, identity confusion, fear disguised as faith. Ask yourself, who benefits from me believing this? Because once someone owns your reality, they own your mind. Patty Hearst didn't just rob a bank. She became a living example of how dark psychology can erase a person's identity and build a new one in its place. If it can happen to someone that powerful, it can happen to anyone. Like, subscribe, and comment below. Do you think she was brainwashed or a willing criminal? Until next time, stay sharp. Protect your mind, because it's the most valuable thing someone will ever try to take from you.